Hi guys and welcome to the circus. Today we have a different video where I showcase you guys my Pale Moon deck in CFV. I don't know if you noticed, but I really love talking about deck builds, especially if it's about my favorite clan. Since I already showcased my Zero decks, now I'm going to show you my take on the Pale Moon archetype and standard called Nightmare Dolls. For those of you who don't know yet, there are two CFV formats that exist today, which are Standard and Premium. I don't want to dive deep into their differences because I still lack knowledge on both of them. I'll just try to describe them as simple as possible. Sorry. So in simple terms, Standard format is where the new version of the old cards are the only cards to be used, while Premium is where all cards including old sets and new sets can be used. And that's basically it for me. We're not here to dive deep into this topic, we're here for the deck profile. So, Nightmare Dolls is an archetype in Pale Moon where the units are dolls. Please don't judge. This is by far my favorite Pale Moon deck to play in Standard, and I wish I could in Premium as well, but I lack the resources right now to build one. These dolls and other units are in a unit archetype called Workeroid. Their playstyle is aggressive and really fun to play. So, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, first let me introduce the star of the deck, which is Nightmare Doll Carol. Her skill is, when she's placed on Vanguard Circle, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose one of them and put it in the soul. And if you soul charge a grade 3 Workeroid this way, you can call it out on a rearguard circle. Her second skill is on Vanguard Circle. When a grade 3 rearguard is put into the soul, you may counterblast 1, discard 2 cards, then choose any Workeroid from your soul and ride it as stand with 1 less drive check. The second skill is the way you create your multi-attacks and combos. And for her first skill, the usual targets are either another copy of her or this girl, Nightmare Doll Alice. Her skill is, when placed on Vanguard Circle, you may choose any Workeroid from your soul and call it on a rearguard circle, and that unit gets plus 5,000 until the end of turn. Her second skill is on rearguard circle. After this unit attacked, you may counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and put her in the soul. Choose any non-grade 3 unit from your soul and call it. So after riding Carol, you can potentially get her from the top 5 cards and get a free Alice on the board. Since Alice goes to soul after an attack, it triggers Carol's second ability, meaning you can ride onto Alice and call another Workeroid from your soul due to her first skill, or ride onto another copy of Carol from your soul. The most optimal superior ride is another Carol, because if you have another way to return a grade 3 to your soul, her skill can be used again. Meaning, as long as you have CBs and grade 3s on your board, you can keep re-riding a copy of her to continue attacking, and eventually riding onto Alice last to call another one from your soul for an additional attack. This is the main engine of the deck, and all other units to follow are here to support this engine. The last grade 3 we run are 2 Comicality Chimeras. His skill is, on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, when this card attacks cost, you may put any unit from your field to your soul, and this unit gets 5,000 power until the end of the battle. Also, if you haven't countercharged this turn, you may countercharge 1. This is another way to return a grade 3 to your soul, and with that countercharge, it makes your combos a little bit longer. On to the grade 2s, we run 4 Nitro Jugglers. His skill is, on place on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, check the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one of them and put it in the soul, and the rest to the bottom of the deck. This deck lacks in deck thinning, filters, and searchers, and I really hope that we get a generic grade 3 searcher soon. But until then, these guys are what we have. You get to filter out 2 cards from your deck and potentially get pieces needed for your combos. For example, another copy of Carol to make your combos live on grade 3 turn. Next, we run 4 Amaranth Beast Tamer. Her skill is, Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, when she attacks, cost, put a rearguard to your soul, and this unit gets plus 3k. She's the only soul returner that has no other cost. Well, technically, she has one, but that cost is what we needed in this deck. She's a 12k attacker, and on an Axel Circle, she's 17, which is nice as well. Next, we run 2 Nightmare Doll Ellen. Her skill is, Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, when this card attacks, cost, counterblast 1, put a Workeroid rearguard to your soul, then she gets plus 10,000 till the end of turn, and you draw 1 card. She's another soul returner available. The only throwback is that she needs a counterblast. We don't really want to use too much counterblast on other units aside from our grade 3s. But that plus 10 and draw really helps a lot in some scenarios. Last grade 2 is 1 Jumping Jill. Her skill is, when placed on rearguard circle from your soul, cost, put a rearguard to your soul, then choose any non-grade 2 unit from your soul and call it to the back row. I only ran one of her because of a couple reasons. First, I only have one copy. Second, I think too much of her is not worth running because she needs to be called from soul to work. She only calls to the back row, and not seeing her in soul doesn't hurt the deck as much. If you have her in soul, she becomes an extender, but if she's not there, it's fine. If I have another copy of her, I'd probably run her at 2. If you disagree with my opinion, please do share your side as well in the comments. I'd love to hear them. On to the grade 1 lineup. We run 4 Brassy Bunnies. His skill is, when placed on Vanguard or Rearguard circle, cost, you may discard a card, then draw a card. And if you're on a grade 3 Vanguard, you may soul charge 2. He's one of the best ride targets because you get to filter out early in the game. Also, his soul charge on grade 3 can be really clutch if you don't have the second copy of Carol on your soul. Next, 4 Nightmare Doll Beverly. She's the only other Nightmare Doll that I run at 4 because of her skill, which is, when your other Workoroid is placed on the same column as this unit, that unit gets plus 5k until the end of turn. I always place her behind Vanguard because upon riding and re-riding, Carol always goes to 17, which hits over Force decks and a magic number on Protect decks and Axle decks. Usually in this deck, you swing with your Vanguard first unboosted because you wanna reserve your boost for the final attack. It just sucks when your opponent snipes them, so please don't. Next, we run 2 Purple Trapezist. Her skill is, when put from rearguard into soul, cost, soul blast a copy of Trapezist. It can be the exact Trapezist put into the soul, and call a card from your soul to the rearguard circle. She's basically an extender if you have her available. I only run 2 because too much of her doesn't do well in the list. It's kinda the same reason as Jill, where if you have her, it's fine, but if you don't, it won't hurt the deck as much. Next, we run 2 grade 1 PGs. For those of you who are wondering, yes, I have a playset of draw PGs, but I decided to cut 2 of them. The reason behind is that we need to filter out early into the game to get our pieces. Delude Dancer Ethel is a great ride target as well because of her on ride draw 1 discard. This way, we have 6 really good ride targets early game. Also, losing PGs doesn't really hurt the deck as much because you always rush to your opponent before they even get to you. Moving on to the trigger lineup, we run 2 draw PGs to complete the Sentinel lineup. Draw triggers doesn't help much in this deck unlike fronts and crits. Drawing a card is cool, but I would rather check a front or a crit because those triggers might just win me the game. This deck is really aggressive when they start their combos, so checking a draw isn't that much help. Next, we run 6 front triggers, 4 crits, and 4 heals. I know that this is a weird ratio for triggers, but in my experience, this ratio is actually really good. Those 4 crits can be really clutch when your opponent doesn't guard on your 1 drive check Vanguard swing. And those fronts basically denies a defensive trigger for all your units. Because Nightmare Dolls is a type of deck where it can be easily shut down by a couple of defensive triggers. And for the starter, we have Silverthorn Assistant Ionella. You can still fool other players that you play Silverthorn, but she's just here because she looks better than the other starters. So, this is my take on Nightmare Dolls in Standard. There are a lot more Nightmare Dolls in this archetype than what I have shown. I did try to run them and test them. They're all really fun to play with, but sometimes they don't do much. What I'm aiming for in this build is as much consistency as possible in terms of performing your grade 3 combos. Because if you don't have Carols, the deck can't do well. Also, you can try to run misdirections to filter out more early on. I don't have her right now, so I just work with what I have. On the next Pale Moon set, I really hope we get a new Nightmare Doll or any kind of support that would work with this archetype. So that's about it for the list. I would really like to know what you think about this. Please comment them down below. I'm sorry I can't provide any sample games. My laptop can't run screen recorders and I have no Playmate right now, so sorry about that. If you don't have a Playmate right now, you can always try this on CFA or other platforms and possibly give your feedback on this list. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below so I can answer them. So yeah, if you like Pale Moon as well, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time! Should I use Gotcha or Gems? Yeah, I'll use Gems. Okay, let's do this. Yeah! What happened? What will happen? Come on, give me something good, man. Give me something good. Da, 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 da. Okay, okay, fine.